Sunday, August 8th, 1982, a typical Northwest summer day with the sun nowhere in sight. An estimated 250,000 hydro fans showed up to participate in Seattle's largest annual party, the Sea Galley Emerald Cup hydroplane race. The cool weather had a soothing effect on the masses, and they seemed to be better behaved than in past years. As race time grew near, the field of qualifying boats had been increased to 13. First off, the U-29 Miss Rock, sponsored by KISW Radio. This hull was built in 1972 and has only won one race, the President's Cup in 1973. It is driven by Bob Miller, a veteran who began his career in 1955, the same year as the late Bill Munsey. The Kawaguchi Travel, driven by Will Munsey, son of the great hydro legend himself. This conventional Allison-powered hull dates back to 1972, and this would be Will's first unlimited race. The U-55 Oh Boy Oberto, a brand new boat. The first Carlson-designed boat on the circuit since 1968. This all-metal boat is driven by Scott Pierce, who qualified her at 105 miles per hour. The Miss KYYX, driven by the only female driver on the circuit, Miss Brenda Jones. This boat was formerly the old Squire shop and has a history of doing fairly well. Brenda qualified the boat at 106 miles per hour. The U-17 Miss Tempest, designed, built, and owned by Mr. Chuck Hickling. This rock-steady boat gave an outstanding performance in the Tri-Cities 2 weeks earlier. It is driven by Jack Schaefer Jr. and qualified at 111 miles per hour. The U-6 Kenny Toyota, formerly the Pay and Pack in 1975, and then the Atlas in 1976. This is one of the all-time winningest hulls in hydro history. Driven by Ron Snyder, he qualified at a little over 110 miles per hour. The Aerono Unlimited, this dual-engine, dual-drive boat is possibly the wave of the future in Unlimiteds. Driven by Buck Thornton, it qualified at 120 miles per hour, but the Aerono had to withdraw from the competition due to a broken shaft, which could not be replaced in time. The U-8 Executone. This wood hull boat was the former Oh Boy Oberto, the same one that was dropped on the Finger Pier in 1981. This boat had done fairly well in the 1982 circuit. Driven by rookie driver George Johnson, it qualified at 121 miles per hour. The Squire Shop, a two-time winner for 1982, once in Madison, the other in Tri-Cities. The Squire is driven by Tom DeHeath, who joins the tour after 6 years of retirement. He qualified the boat at 128 miles per hour. The Miss Perdelco Misturado, driven by Steve Reynolds, looked to be the day's dark horse. This is the boat that carries our experimental driver's eye view camera on board. The Perdelco qualified at an impressive 131 miles per hour. The Pay and Pack, hot on the heels of the Bud and the Atlas all season. The Pack picked up a win in Seneca Lake, New York earlier in the season. The experimental turbine-powered hull, driven by John Walters, qualified at 138 miles per hour. The Atlas Van Lines, driven by Chip Hanauer, who carried on the tradition of the late Bill Munsey by winning the Gold Cup in Detroit earlier this year. Chip qualified for the Emerald Cup at 140.8 miles per hour, a new world's record. And finally, the Miss Budweiser, arriving the day of the race, rebuilt after the tragic accident 2 weeks earlier, which took the life of Dean Chenoweth. Driven by veteran driver Ron Armstrong, the Bud qualified at a very bumpy and unstable 126 miles per hour. We'll be back with Heats 1A and 1B right after this. Heat 1A, the so-called slower heat, pitted the Tempest, the Kenny Toyota, and the Miss KYYX against the Oberto, the Kawaguchi Travel, and the Miss Rock. Don Poyer calls the action.
And here they come around the turn. Way back in the back is the Kenny Toyota. They're going to come up hard from behind. Looks like the Toyota will come in on the inside. Setting it up now. The other boat's going way wide. Miller coming way wide on the bottom of your screen. The Kawaguchi and the Tempest. Those are those three boats right there. Jack Schaefer on the boat on the left. Qualifying at 111, running very consistently. Down to 14 seconds. All the boats beginning to slow down. Brenda Jones is way back in the north turn. Just coming around. Now past the exit buoy and into the straightaway. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Looks like they're all okay. Getting a good start is the Kenny Toyota with Ron Snyder. Heading into the south turn. No problems with rollers right now as they head into that particular turn. Coming up now, you see Ron Snyder and the Kenny Toyota, one of the winningest holes in hydroplane history. He is not on the inside. He is on lane 2 as they go into that south turn. We'll get a shot now and set up the lead for you as they come out of that turn and past the exit buoy. Snyder with a great start and in good position now as he goes into the back chute. Look at that skid fin. Dig in and throw the water in the air. On the inside now on the right of your screen, the old boy Alberto and Scott Pierce. Acceleration has never been a problem for Ron Snyder in that boat, and you can see it there. He's widening his lead already. Ron Snyder, the Kenny Toyota Volvo, first place going into the back chute. There's the second place boat. Scott Pierce, the boy Alberto, brand new boat. And there's the distance between the first and second place boats. Oh, the Kenny Toyota is rolling. They had engine problems, as Mike said, all week long. Sounded like a thrashing machine, but they're doing very well. You've got some good races back in the back, though. Third place boat right now is the Tempest. A 3-second lead for the Kenny Toyota going into the North Third. That boat looks very good. He had a tremendous start in Heat 1B last week with the hot boats. This week in the slow boat race. Could be a good day for him. Ron Snyder. Scott Pierce, the boy Alberto, second place, 3 seconds back, finishing lap number 1. Third and fourth place. Going into the South Third, KYYX on the inside, the Tempest. Alberto has gone under the infield. They've had engine problems in the past, and now they are going in. They have gone into the infield, and I understand that Miss Rock has also gone dead in the water up near the North Third. So we have 2 boats out of it, and the Kenny Toyota alive and well, doing very well. First lap, 110.5 miles per hour. From Sky King into that South Turn. That's a beautiful boat. Mike and Rod, that's still one of the best-looking boats in the business. That was the first boat to ever use the stabilizer wing.
That's what you call pure pedigree lines, Don, all the way.
Not too many rollers coming off that log move to the North Third right now. Something we had anticipated earlier, but the boat is running very well. Not any bad bouncing. Coming around to complete heat number 1A and lap number 5. Ron Snyder, the Kenny Toyota. Jack up another one for Mr. Snyder.
And so Ron Snyder in the Miss Kenny Toyota easily captures first place. And the battle for second place went to Brenda Jones with an impressive job handling the Miss KYYX. And third went to Jack Schaefer in the Tempest. Brenda Jones was so elated with her performance, she was really unaware of how good a job she had done.
I thought I came in third. Come to find out I'm second. So that's even better.
Heat 1B, the hot boat heat, pitted the Atlas, the Pan Pac, and the Prodelco against the Squire, the Bud, and the Executone. Drivers had been aware of the unusually rough water conditions all week in the north and south turns, but as they jockeyed for position at the start of 1B, they had no idea what havoc that water was about to wreak.
On the inside, it appears it is the Atlas van lines. Look at that traffic jam. Way back is Johnny Walters, as we said, in the pay and pack. Coming very wide in a very narrow spot. Look at this. Much like Heat 1B last year, 2 boats nearly colliding. They're all right. They're all running. And here we go. 5 seconds. Should be all right. We may have jumped boats. We may have boats that have jumped the gun. We'll have to wait and see.
The start was a fast one with a few boats jumping the gun. Then without warning, George Johnson in the Executone hits a hole in the water, which violently pitches his boat to the left into the Squire Shop's lane. Driver Tom DeHeath in the Squire takes evasive action and pulls a hard left to avoid the Executone. The Executone grazes the Squire, causing severe sponson damage. But the worst occurs when an unsuspecting John Walters in the Pan Pac directly hits the misguided Executone. Pack barrel rolls over the top of the Executone, causing extensive damage to the boat. As a result, the Executone almost immediately sinks to the bottom.
They've got to get him out. It's George Johnson. George Johnson in the Executone.
Both Tom DeHeath and George Johnson are miraculously unhurt, but John Walters is seriously injured. Rescue attempts seem to take forever. People on the shore are in shock. Finally, Walters is transferred to Harborview Medical Center, where he is listed in serious but stable condition.
Was it mechanical error or driver error?
No, I would have to say it was driver error. There's
Which driver?
George Johnson. He was going way too fast for the water conditions. I saw everything on the boat, totally. The skid fin, the prop, the rudder, everything was there.
Well, I'm sure I bounced out and I bounced back in, but I certainly assure you that I did not stomp on it. As I'm sure you'll see when the boat is picked up, the steering wheel column is completely broke off, and how I landed when I came back in the boat, I just, thank God I came back in the boat. I mean, how I landed was nothing under my control.
The heat is eventually restarted with the 3 remaining boats, but early on, the Prodelco goes dead in the water, and the Atlas cruises to an easy victory over the Bud. We'll be back with more hydro highlights right after this. The boats in Heat 2A included the KYYX, the Miss Rock, the Kawaguchi Travel, the Tempest, and the Design 360, which was a first alternate boat. The 360 was driven by Tom Martin.
A couple of boats way back, they may be about right. That's the Design 360 and Will Muncie in the Kawaguchi Travel way back. Bob Martin is going to have to, he'll pick it up. 3 seconds, 2. And it looks like Brenda has an outstanding start. She's on the outside with the Tempest and Jack Schaefer on the inside. There's the race going into the south turn. Brenda Jones with the best start I have ever seen her put together. 3 more boats go by. The Miss Rock is very close to being dead in the water. The Kawaguchi Travel and the Design 360 going way back. But coming into the south turn, there is Jack Schaefer Jr. qualifying at 111. That in the Noah's Ark, the Tempest. Chuck Hickling's designed and built boat on the outside is Brenda Jones in the KYYX. And as you see, the Tempest has picked up the lead in that south turn. Jack Schaefer, he's got the inside position. Brenda out on that outside hip. And we've got a good race going into the back chute. Brenda Jones loves the speed. She loves those straightaways. She's not bad at it, and she's coming on from Sky King, coming due north, right at the camera, heading for the floating bridge. The KYYX on the left, and the Tempest on the inside on the right. Going into the north turn, a good race. Brenda Jones not afraid to put that foot to the floor. Only a 1-second lead for Jack Schaefer in the Tempest. This is his second race in this boat. He raced in Tri-Cities, getting a feel for that boat. He was in the 1,000 Trails last year, which is now the Prodelco, but he's got the lead. About to complete lap number 1, Brenda Jones. Swinging outside, Schaefer doing a good job of moving her outside with that rooster tail. Brenda cutting it back inside, though. Let's see if she can keep up with him. Jack Schaefer completing a lap 1 in the Tempest. Brenda Jones, KYYX, completing a lap 1 as well. Brenda Jones with that new system. They no longer have fuel injection on that engine. It's strictly a carburetor. And there's still the good race. They're down in the south part of the course. Look at Brenda holding on, riding that hip of Jack Schaefer. They're having fun. Both at around 102 miles per hour. Now watch the Tempest, because we are told they don't have that much nitrous. Brenda doesn't have any. But Jack Schaefer was saying that he has enough for about 3 different laps. Well, not that much, maybe a couple of laps to be competitive. Hickling said, well, if you ever want to go race somebody, you got it for about a lap and a half. And here we go. Let's see if he can keep it going. Of course, his competition does not have nitros. That's the KYYX. And going down the chute, Brenda picking up, if not the lead. Brenda Jones, it's hard to tell from the angle of this camera. We'll wait until we get into the turn. From the naked eye, it looks like she has a slight lead going into that turn, the north turn. You can hear the crowd yelling in the background. Brenda Jones, and I think the nitrous probably has run out in the Tempest, and that may be one reason. Let's see now in turning. Schaefer's one of the best. Brenda does have a lead past the exit buoy. Brenda Jones in the KYYX. That familiar bright fluorescent red cross on the top of her helmet. And now she's stretching it out. She has a 1.5-second lead over Jack Schaefer in the Tempest. Bob Miller of the Miss Rock has gone dead in the water on the main straightaway near the starting line. Brenda Jones going by the Design 360 with Tom Martin aboard. Really impressed. Anybody will tell you how difficult it is to pass a boat when you're on the outside, and she did just that against Jack Schaefer in the Tempest. What a coming out party for Brenda Jones. You can hear the crowd in the pits and the people along the shoreline, even over the thunder of these engines, as they shout for this young lady.
And so in what turned out to be one of the better races of the day, Brenda Jones in the KYYX captures first place and becomes the first female driver to win a heat in modern unlimited boat racing history. Second place went to Jack Schaefer in the Tempest, and third went to Will Muncie in the Kawaguchi Travel. With the elimination of the Squire, the Pack, and the Executone, Heat 2B was the most lethargic race of the day. The Kenny Toyota was bumped up from the slow boats to join the Atlas and the Bud, and all 3 boats were guaranteed a spot in the final by just finishing. Early on in lap 2, the Bud went dead in the water, and once again, Chip Hanauer in the Atlas cruised to an easy victory. The Toyota was second. We'll be right back with the final heat right after this. So the lineup for the final heat looked like this: the Atlas, the Budweiser, and the Prodelco against the Kenny Toyota, the Miss KYYX, and the Tempest. Now, the most confusing thing about the final was how the Prodelco, which had not finished a heat all day, wound up in the championship race. Well, under the fan plan, the fastest 4 boats in heats 1 and 2B are guaranteed spots in the final. And since the Prodelco had finished more than 3 laps in heat 1B, it had earned its spot. All of the boats, with the exception of the Prodelco, were fired up and running on the course at the 1-minute gun.
Don, as you know, if that boat is not on a planing attitude by the 1-minute gun, you can say goodbye to Steve Reynolds.
Right. Well, they're giving the sign to lift it up. And the yellow flag is out, gentlemen. And I'm sure that is because of those people in the north turn. Okay, we've got a red flag out.
We have a red flag
Red flag out.
Well, this is going to help the Prodelco. The red flag means there's a hazardous condition on the race course, and they're going to stop the heat.
It seems that the log boom restraining the rafters by the shore had broken, and the rafters were quickly making their move upon the north turn. The final was delayed about an hour while the log boom was fixed. This gave the Prodelco crew the precious time it needed to make the final adjustments. Finally, the rafters were back in place, the hydros were back on the course, and the start of the championship heat was underway.
One boat way ahead. Who is that? Let's check it out.
That's
Looking for the naked
Kawaguchi
eye.
pulling off the
Kawaguchi.
course, as they must.
Will Muncie going into the infield, and that's where he'll watch the race. Best seat in the house. Approaching the north turn. Under 30 seconds. On the inside is the Atlas van lines. The Budweiser next to him. Now this is what Steve Reynolds sees in the Prodelco Mr. Otto. Under 20 seconds. Coming up on 15. It's going to be a good start. They're awfully close on the clock. Great positioning by all the boats. It's Atlas in the inside of the 4 boats. It's the Kenny Toyota on the outside of the 4 that we see. Here they come. 3 seconds, 2. They're all too fast. It'll be close. Budweiser getting possibly the best start. The Budweiser in the lead on the outside. That is the Kenny Toyota on the inside. The Blue Blaster, the Atlas van line. Prodelco in between the Bud and the Atlas as they head into the south turn. Reynolds, lots of water in front of him, as you can see, as they go into that south turn. Atlas on the inside. Chip's right where he wants to be. Oh, what a great turn he made, too. The skid fin digging in as he heads down now the back chute. A marvelous start for Chip Hanauer. Look at the difference between Chip and the second place boat, which I believe is the Prodelco. Chip Hanauer, the man who's trying to get that one and only victory in Seattle. Budweiser is in second place, but he's way back. The Prodelco is in 4th. In 3rd place right now is the Kenny Toyota. The leader, Hanauer. Chip Hanauer, lap 1. 2nd place, the Budweiser and Ron Armstrong. Speed for that first lap, 122 miles per hour. The Atlas ran at 127 in the first heat. He's at 122 on the first lap into the final here on Lake Washington. 4.5-second lead for Hanauer ahead of the Budweiser. The Tempest and the KYYX just coming out of the north turn while you see Hanauer coming out of the south. All boats still running. The difference, Hanauer on the left of the screen, the Budweiser, Armstrong on the right, and the Prodelco on the far right as they come out of that south turn. Chip Hanauer rocking and rolling, going down the back chute past the log boom. The boat was performed beautifully. There's the Budweiser, Ron Armstrong. They got it ready in time to race in Seattle. Bernie Little said, we're not going to miss Seattle. 6-second lead for Hanauer, and there's Ron Snyder in the Kenny Toyota, the winningest hole in the business. Again, back to Hanauer in the north turn. Prodelco is in 4th place. Toyota, Kenny Toyota, 3rd. The Budweiser 2nd. And there's the leader, completing lap number 2. Hanauer, the Atlas, the Blue Blaster. But Hanauer, in the meantime, looks like he's well on his way. Here he's going down the back chute on lap number 4. About to pass Jack Schaefer Jr. in the Tempest. That boat is so consistent. Hickling's hull, that engine, and the boat just keeps running. 6-second lead for Hanauer and the Atlas. Schaefer may want to give him a little race right here. Maybe he's got some nitros left. Hanauer driving superfluously, doing fabulous. Marvelous job by Chip Hanauer. Budweiser 2nd. Again, the Atlas slowing down a little bit more, 112 miles per hour now on lap 4. He's got one more to go, and he'll have his ultimate summer, as he said, if he could get this win. The difference between the Atlas and the second place boat, the Budweiser. Tempest on the inside. There's the Bud. Ron Armstrong, a fabulous job today, being able to handle that boat, along with the help of Dave Cully, the crew chief, getting it dialed in well enough to compete today. A familiar sight, Hanauer in front with that orange helmet, flying along. There's the difference now between the first and second place boats. Past the yachts, all the boats on the east side of the course, riding beautifully over that choppy water. The Atlas II was a little light during the week. They had to tone it down, make it less responsive, less lively. 5-second lead now for Chip. And here comes what looks like to be the winner for today. Chip Hanauer, the ultimate summer has arrived. He's a winner in Seattle.
And so a day which had begun in tragedy ended in bittersweet victory for Chip Hanauer in the Atlas van lines. Chip's first win ever in Seattle. This year, King TV will go to the limits to bring you the finest hydroplane coverage in the nation. With 4 cameras along the shore, 4 cameras in the pits, 1 camera in the air, and 1 mounted directly on the Squire Shop to give you an even better driver's eye view. Join Don Poyer, Tony Ventrella, Lou Gellos, Mike Fitzsimmons, and driver Steve Reynolds and John Walters as they bring you all the action live from the shores of Lake Washington next, as we bring you the 1983 Sea Galley Emerald Cup hydroplane race. For 32 years, nobody's done hydros better than King 5, the hydroplane experts.